I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Welcome to another Mail Call Mondays, and let's get to the questions. And our first question comes from Gravitas73. He said, you mentioned needing some minimum weight barrel for the 6.5 Creedmoor. Do you cover this in a mailbag episode? I was thinking of a 16-inch to 18-inch build with a lighter barrel, but if this is a bad idea for reasons I'm not aware of like this, I'd like to hear it. Well, the diameter of the barrel or the weight of the barrel is really going to depend upon what you intend to do with it. In my opinion, a 16 to 18 inch 6.5 Creedmoor is still better than a 16 to 18 inch 308 as far as ballistics are concerned, drop and wind drift, etc. But when you get into these smaller calibers, 6.5 and 6mm, like the 243 I have in front of me, what you're really doing is you want to get that bullet out there and you want to get it downrange fast, and that velocity is what helps to give you a ballistic advantage. Obviously the ballistic coefficient is part of it, but the higher velocity you can run these bullets at also gives you some ballistic benefit. So when you start to shorten that barrel length, you're reducing the amount of velocity you can get out of that bullet, and now you're sacrificing barrel life to try to push that velocity back up without actually getting any realistic gain. Now, as far as weight, if you go too small of a diameter of barrel, then what you can run into is you can run into heat stringing, where that barrel, as it heats up, will have a different point of impact than as it's cold. You will generally see this more commonly with less expensive barrels. With high-end premium barrels, if you go down to, for instance, a varmint or a Sendero weight barrel, about a what would be considered a Bartlein number 13 barrel, that is about as thin as I would go on a match barrel, a competition barrel, because with that thin a barrel, I still know when the barrel heats up over a long string of fire that I'm not going to get heat stringing with it. If you go down smaller than that, like a sporter barrel, or like on an AR, if you went with a government profile barrel where it's got that real thin center section and then it actually has to get larger for the gas block, I think you're going to run into some heat stringing problems when you're trying to punch those sub 1 inch groups at 100 yards. So you're going to want to stay with a little bit heavier than that. You don't have to go overboard and go with the Krieger number 9 I have sitting here. This thing is just a huge barrel, and it has a weight penalty to it. A 26-inch number 9 is going to have a lot of weight hanging on the front of the rifle, but I have never seen any heat drift with this barrel, and 243 can get a little bit hot. I can run 20 rounds through it, and that 20th round is going to impact at the same point of aim as that first round. So heavier barrels will give you more consistency, will give you more resistance to that heat stringing. Lighter weight barrels, smaller diameter barrels, you may run into that. So it's going to really be up to you, but for a true match or competition barrel, I wouldn't go any lighter than a number 13 or a Remington Sendero profile. It goes under different names for different manufacturers. And for the 6.5 Creedmoor, I would stay about 24 inches. When I built out my 260, I went with the 24-inch barrel. When I built the 6.5 Creedmoor Ma 10, I went with the 24-inch barrel because even when you're shooting barricades, it really isn't that big of a deal. The only time the 24-inch barrel causes problems is when you're operating inside vehicles or inside sewer pipes or things like that. Out in the open where you're just running a barricade, it's usually not that big of a deal. Our next question comes from 300 WMRN, and he says, since you are ex-military and current law enforcement, do you have to worry about shouldering the arm brace with all the fun around that lately? Well, real quick, without going into great, huge details, I'll tell you that being former military and being current law enforcement, does not change the rules that I have to obey concerning National Firearms Act restricted weapons, and that would be short barrel rifles, all this other fun stuff. For my private collection, I have to do the exact same thing that everyone else has to do as far as registering those. The exact same taxes have to be paid. The only two immediate examples that I have of things that are different for me regarding firearms as an active law enforcement officer versus the regular citizen is that I'm covered by LEOSA, the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act. So as long as I obey certain rules and certain regulations that my department has set forth, I can carry a handgun anywhere in the U.S. That is not federally restricted. So federal courtrooms, certain federal buildings, etc., I still can't carry a firearm. But no state can enact a law that prevents me from being able to carry a firearm into their state concealed about my person. So that's one. And the other one is that my department can own new fully automatic weapons like HKUMP is the first one that comes to mind. And I, as an employee of my department, can possess those weapons. So if the department issued me a brand new HKUMP, I can possess that, I can keep it in my house, I can take it to the range, I can shoot it, etc. But as soon as I leave the employment of the department, I have to turn it in. It is the department's. And that's not too much different from a FFL or a corporation that is allowed to own fully automatic weapons as well. Now, specifically regarding the Shockwave blade stabilizer that we showed in our ALG Defense ACT trigger review that we just published this last week. A lot of questions came up on that because in the intro sequence of that video, it shows me shooting our pistol project with the Shockwave blade on it, which we had the ACT trigger installed. And it may at first appear that I'm shouldering the Shockwave blade. In actuality, I have 1/8 of an inch of space between the vertical surface of the back of that Shockwave blade and my shoulder. So I am still in compliance with the current ATF opinion letter regarding shouldering a pistol stabilizing brace. For those of you that don't know the history on this, when SIG first produced the SIG brace, the ATF issued an opinion letter on it that said that adding a SIG brace to an AR-15 pistol did not change its classification. It was still classified as a pistol. Someone later on asked if placing the brace in the shoulder changed the classification from pistol to short barrel rifle. And the ATF again issued an opinion letter stating that it didn't matter how you utilize the firearm, the firearms classification did not change, which made absolute sense, because if I take my Glock handgun, which no one is going to argue is not a handgun, with no attachments, and I hold it against my shoulder and press the trigger, which would not be a smart thing to do, but for this example, that's what I'm using. If I hold it against my shoulder and press the trigger, as soon as that round fires, it does not magically convert the Glock handgun into a short barrel rifle, making me in violation of the National Firearms Act. That just doesn't happen. How you utilize a device does not change what the device is. But the ATF, in its judgment, decided to issue a new letter about the time the Shockwave blade stabilizer came out that said that a stabilizer on a pistol, the device remains a pistol unless you place it in your shoulder when you utilize it. So now if you place it in your shoulder, it magically converts it to a short barrel rifle, and now it's subject to all the registration requirements of a short barrel rifle. So theoretically, what the ATF is saying is that if you took a pistol like we've built out, equipped with a Shockwave blade stabilizer, and you place that Shockwave blade stabilizer in your shoulder during the act of firing the rifle, that you have now, by firing the rifle, made an unregistered SBR. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. I honestly, because my Glock example, I don't believe that it would pass judicial scrutiny. To my knowledge, no one has actually been charged and prosecuted successfully for shouldering a SIG brace or a Shockwave blade. But I would say that as a private citizen, you want to follow the ATF's guidance to prevent any very nasty experiences and very expensive legal defense procedures. So when you see us shooting the pistol and when we actually do the pistol review, prior to that clip I actually have a disclaimer. So if we played back the whole raw clip, you'll notice I explained to the camera that I am actually holding the brace away from my shoulder. There is clearance between the vertical portion of the brace and my shoulder, but because we wanted the overall length of that to be fairly compact, it doesn't really hang out there in space. It's shortened back a little bit. We probably could shorten it up a little bit more and get a little bit more gap by my shoulder just for the whole camera purposes, but that was the way we set it up and that was the way it worked well. So I am in compliance with the ATF's current guidance. Now, we may publish this today and tomorrow the ATF's guidance may change. After November, it's all up in the air. We get a new president that issues an executive order, the ATF could come down and say that all the stabilizer braces are now illegal and constitute a short barrel rifle, and then that's all up in the air as well. And if the ATF comes down with guidance that says we view this law in this certain way and you violate that guidance, you haven't necessarily violated the law, but the ATF may decide to charge you and bring you before a judge so that the judge can determine if you violated the law. And for us private citizens, that is a very, very expensive proposition. I really couldn't afford to sit in a jail cell until I can post bond and then have to take time off of work and hire a very expensive lawyer that deals with federal firearms matters to defend myself in court. So it's always in your best interest to stay on the good side of those ATF opinions. But it's your own judgment. I can't give you legal advice. It's best to consult with a firearms attorney before you do anything of that nature. Blake asks, "Hey man, do you think it's necessary to have 10-round mags for matches? I have a Savage and a company makes 10-round mags, but they're about $90 a piece. Would it be worth the investment if I planned on getting into Guardian or PRS matches?" Well, Blake, if you are serious about competition, then I would suggest that you go with a chassis system that utilizes AICS pattern magazines. That's going to be your best bet. It's going to be your most cost-effective bet, and it's going to be your best bet as far as tuning the rifle to your body and being able to shoot those matches at a high level. Now, just for getting out and shooting a PRS or Guardian match, I don't believe that you need 10-round magazines. They're a great thing to have, but if you practice mag changes with 5-round magazines and you can perform a fast magazine change, then you should be okay if you're just getting out there to see if you like shooting the matches. So I would just go with the 5-round magazines on that. I would not drop 90 rounds on $90 on a very specific magazine system that only accepts $90 10-round magazines. If you go with a chassis system out there like KRG Alpha 180, then they accept 10-round AICS pattern magazines. A lot of the MDT chassis all accept AICS magazines, and there are a bunch of other ones out there that will accept AICS magazines. And then you have the option to run the less expensive Magpul polymer AICS mags, and all said and done, you can get a lot of magazines for a lot less money. So that would be my suggestion there. I definitely wouldn't spend 90 bucks on a 10-round magazine for a Savage. Save that money, learn to do a quick mag change with a 5-round mag, and put that money towards a chassis system that utilizes a more standard, less expensive magazine. Our next question comes from Emery, and Emery asks, "Another excellent video, great info as usual. Quick question. Assuming you're a full-time LEO, how do you find time to shoot so many matches, get to the range so often, and still be able to make these well-done videos?" Well, Emery, thanks for the comments on the videos, and to tell you, I work a second shift job, so I'm usually at work about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to about 11 o'clock at night. So the way my normal day goes is I'll wake up in the morning, I'll get the kids off to school, I'll run to the range, I will either shoot some drills or shoot for practice, or shoot product review videos at the range, any of the B-roll stuff that I need. Then I will come back here, I'll spend a little bit of time on the internet answering questions, doing social media stuff. I will then shoot anything that I need to shoot in the studio, well, like this. Then spend the time that I need to edit it and put it together before I go shower up, put on my uniform, go to work, come home from work, sleep, and then I just repeat the cycle all over again. The matches and the trade shows and stuff that I go to, that's all vacation or comp time. That's why this year I haven't been able to go to as many matches as I really wanted to. A lot of times I have to pick which matches are really high on my list to shoot. I can't at this point make a serious run for PRS or any of that because I honestly have to split my time between shooting different rifle systems for product reviews. I have to split my time between going to trade shows, and then I have to really be selective on what matches I can shoot. So I can't shoot a lot of matches and throw out the low points matches and just take the high matches. I have to, if I do a PRS points run, then every match that I shoot is counting towards my PRS points, and I have to somehow shoe in some time to train with my main match rifle, and I have to put off some product reviews to shoot one rifle every day to be able to get the most out of that one single rifle. So it really is a very time-intensive project. My schedule doesn't have a whole lot of free time, and occasionally I just have to break out days and say, I'm not doing anything for the show, I'm not doing anything for the web, I'm just spending time with my family to actually keep everyone happy, you guys included. So it is a pretty time-intensive thing. But I feel very blessed to have you guys interested in what I'm doing. We are very blessed to have the companies that we have supporting us and sending us stuff to review. And I really couldn't do this without all the support that I receive from the community, you guys included. So thank you very much for watching this. I work as hard as I can to try to get out as much media as I can. So there are kind of cycles depending upon what's going on at work. Sometimes I have to take some mental health time and just kind of back off and relax for a little while before I can come at it and hit it again. So if you guys see some lulls sometimes, don't worry, everything's fine. I just have to back off from things, spend some family time, and then I can come back and hit it again. So it's great. I absolutely love it. I look forward to the point when I can retire and do this full time. But having a lot of fun right now, just trying to pack everything in and get everything that I need to get done day in, day out. And our next question comes from Awesomeness4658. He says, thanks for another good video. Keep it up. Question for you, semi or bolt? I'm planning on getting into a 6.5 Creedmoor for competition. Only thing is I have limited budget, so I will be piecing things together over time. I do want accuracy, but speed of semi is attractive. Which would be the better choice? Do you think semi-autos are capable of the same accuracy as bolt guns? Thanks again. Well, first of all, as we've shown with our 6.5 Ma-10 build versus the 6.5 Ruger Precision Rifle build, which I think is probably the best comparison, the 6.5 Ma-10 is actually a little bit more accurate than the Ruger Precision Rifle. Now, obviously, we haven't actually got down to try to fine-tune a load for the Ruger Precision Rifle, but shooting factory ammo between the two, the 6.5 Ma-10 is a little bit more accurate. Now, it does have a Criterion barrel on it, which is it's on the lower end of the premium barrels, but I would still consider that a premium barrel. The Ruger Precision Rifle has a production rifle barrel on it. So you can increase the accuracy of the Ruger Precision Rifle by switching that barrel over, but they're going to be fairly equal between those two platforms. Now, if you compare our 6.5 Mod 10 to, for instance, the Accuracy International in front of me, the AI has the edge on accuracy, but the AI is also considerably more expensive than the Mod 10. So really, it can go back and forth depending upon the individual examples you pull from each category. Either are going to be more than accurate enough to shoot a PRS or a Guardian style match if you build them for accuracy. Obviously, if you use the wrong components on a 6.5 Mod 10 build, then you're not going to get maximum accuracy. We probably could have gone to something like a Krieger barrel and gone with a little bit more accuracy in the 6.5 Mod 10, but we were trying to keep that not an outrageous build. Now, the problem that we run into is you brought budget into this. If we try to isolate this and say you want to build a rifle over the course of a month or two, then the Ruger Precision Rifle is going to be the better budget option, because a factory Ruger Precision Rifle set up and ready to go shoot a PRS or Guardian match is going to be less expensive than the 6.5 Mod 10 set up to go shoot the match. The one spot where the Mod 10 might be a better budget concern is if you're going to spread that purchase out over a year or more. Then if you're looking at a 6.5 Mod 10, then you can purchase the individual components one at a time as your budget recovers and assemble the rifle as you have time. Then you can spread that cost out, and it's almost like a payment plan, except you're not worrying about interest or any of that nonsense. You're just buying the components as your budget allows you to buy the components to put the rifle together. So if you can spread it out over a long period of time, then a semi-auto rifle may work better. Whereas something like the Ruger Precision Rifle, you really have to buy the thing all at the same time. There's no build your own kind of deal. If you were going to go that route, then you go something more like a Remington 700 receiver and then purchase a chassis or some other premium receiver. And then you're really going to be into a pretty expensive rifle if you're purchasing premium components. And it'll be, again, on the same par as the semi-automatic 6.5 Mod 10. So if you need to go right now, you really want to get into shooting this year, then the Ruger Precision Rifle may be a better option, and you can increase the accuracy of that system by replacing certain key components. And really, right out of the box, what we've seen with our test 6.5 Ruger Precision Rifle is it's accurate enough to go out and shoot a PRS or a Guardian match. Now, the benefits that a semi-automatic affords you, having shot precision rifle matches with both, is that if you are really on a time crunch, the semi-automatic rifle can help you out there. Usually, none of the stages are going to have an accuracy requirement that a good semi-automatic rifle is not capable of, but the speed requirement really may help you out. Magazine changes also tend to be a little bit more fluid with the semi-automatic rifle, but some places that you may run into drawbacks with it is depending upon how the RO wants to run the stage. If they require you to clear the rifle before you move between firing points, it's slower to do so with a semi-automatic rifle. If they will allow you to move between points with the rifle on safe, then the semi-automatic rifle retains its speed advantage. If you are shooting stages that require more than 10 rounds, the semi-automatic rifle usually has an advantage, although the Ruger Precision Rifle has now equalized that advantage since the Ruger Precision Rifle will accept 20-round PMags. So that one kind of equalized. If you are shooting in tight spaces where you would normally have to break position to rack the bolt, then the semi-automatic gives you an advantage. One disadvantage is you have to either run a brass catcher on it or you have to donate a lot of brass to the range because semi-automatics will generally throw that brass a lot greater distance than a bolt gun. However, I do run brass catchers on semi-automatic rifles when I run them in matches. So it actually ends up being an advantage for me because the gun will keep all the brass with it, and I don't have to go hunt brass when the stage is over. I just pop my brass catcher off and I have all my brass right there. So depending upon which individual point you look at, each one has benefits and drawbacks. Again, if you are looking at a short time purchase, you want to just get the rifle and go out and shoot, something like the Ruger Precision Rifle I think is going to work better for you. If you are looking at spreading out the purchase over a very long time and you like the advantages that a semi-automatic rifle will give you, then something like a 6.5 Mach 10 may be the better option. One last point that I will point out for you though is that semi-automatic rifles, the large frame ARs, tend to be a little bit more difficult to get maximum accuracy out of from the shooter and the rifle. They require a little bit different techniques to shooting the rifle. That's been my experience. Bolt guns tend to be a little bit more forgiving of different holds. Semi-automatic rifle, for me, it tends to require a little bit harder hold. You really have to control that rifle a little bit better, use a little bit better follow through to get the most accuracy out of the system. But it's not something that's unmanageable. It's just something that you have to learn and you have to utilize that for that rifle. So it's really going to be up to you. It's a pretty even playing field. It just matters which one will work better for your specific situation. That is it for this Mail Call Mondays. I'm hoping to be able to get this show edited and get it out on Monday. So we will see what we can do there. Again, still working on a couple of other projects, but as you saw this last week, we were able to push some videos out pretty quickly. We got the ALG ACT trigger review out, and we got the Guardian Long Range After Action Report out. We'll leave a link to those down below. Make sure you check out both the Guardian After Action Report video that we've got here on YouTube and also the written After Action Report that we posted on our website. We also sat down with Kirk from the Precision Rifle Media podcast, and we went over the Guardian After Action Report on his podcast. We'll also leave a link to that down below. Make sure you go check it out. Kurt is a great guy. I am just getting into his podcast again. I listened to him a while in the past, and he does a very, very, very good job. So make sure you check that out. It's great to listen to in the car when you can't actually watch videos or you're tired of listening to me. He has some great guests on there, really covers some good subject matter. So make sure you check out the Precision Rifle Media podcast. And that'll do it for this Mail Call Mondays. If you liked the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you got any questions or comments, put them in the comment section down below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you have a question for the next Mail Call Mondays, make sure you leave it down in the comments below. We will read through your comments and we will see if any of them are worthy of inclusion in the next Mail Call Mondays. And until next time, get out and shoot. There is at least 1/8 of an inch clearance between the vertical surface of the rear of the stabilizer and my shoulder.